Let's talk about the dynamic routing, and the principle of dynamic routing says that your traffic should reroute and adapt automatically without you making any manual changes to your network configuration. Let's simplify a bit, which I said, like reroute and adapt automatically. So here onto the screen you can see on the left hand side we are having a Google Cloud, and on the right hand side we are having an AWS Cloud. So of course, Google Cloud has its own networking, its own VPC, its own subnet, and also on the AWS side, it has its own VPC, it has its own subnet. But let's say we want to use the dynamic routing, and for dynamic routing between these two clouds, we want to set up the connectivity. So here you can see this is the connectivity line which is showing that these clouds are connected using the dynamic routing. So what benefit I will get with the dynamic routing? So once this connectivity is established between the Google Cloud and AWS, then any changes which I'm making on the networking side inside my VPC on AWS as well as on Google Cloud, then this dynamic routing will adapt and try to learn the traffic pattern as well as the CIDR ranges, and it will start routing all of the requests to the both cloud, from Google Cloud as well as from AWS. Here is one more diagram which will give you a more clarity when I say making the changes on our networking side for Google Cloud or AWS and when we are using the dynamic routing. So here you can see here I have created was a one subnet. This is another subnet which I have added into Google Cloud side, and similarly on AWS side I also created a few more subnet over here. So these kind of changes I am making, but I am not touching this connectivity because this connectivity is using the dynamic routing, and these connectivity will automatically adapt based on these changes which I am doing onto both the cloud. So here you can see this connectivity is there, but this connectivity will automatically learn the address or this CIDR range of this particular subnets which I am creating within that VPC. So if you are making these kind of changes, then you don't want to manually go into the routes and assign those route address for both the subnets. So these kind of changes you want to avoid, and you want to rely on a dynamic routing so that it learns that, hey, there is a new CIDR range which is coming and I should adapt and I should reroute my request for both the cloud. And don't worry, we are just gonna see the real-time demo pretty soon for this whole implementation, but these are the basic concepts which I just want to cover so that you know what you are gonna achieve with that particular demo. Let's improve this dynamic routing a little bit more. So there is only one connectivity which I have shown in the previous slide, but here you can see there are 4 more connectivity or the tunnels which I'm trying to create. So here you can see this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. So why I am setting these tunnels? Because I just want this connectivity to be highly available. So if anything goes wrong with this particular tunnel, then we still have 1, 2, and 3 tunnels which are available for us to serve the traffic between these two cloud network. So that's also a possibility which we will get when we set up these kind of a dynamic routing between the different clouds. And one last thing about the dynamic routing protocol. So what are those? So there are 3 protocols which are generally used. One is the RIP, which is Routing Information Protocol. Second is OSPF, which is Open Shortest Path First, and the third one is BGP, which is a Border Gateway Protocol. And the most popular one, or which is the backbone of our whole internet, is the BGP, which is a Border Gateway Protocol, and which is used quite widely to learn and adapt based on the dynamic routing. Let's jump to the demo now. In this session, we are going to set up the hybrid connectivity between the Google Cloud and AWS. And in this hybrid connectivity on the Google side, we will be using the High Availability VPN, but on AWS side, we will be using the site-to-site VPN, and also we are going to set up the VPN tunnels to facilitate this high availability connectivity. And once we set up this hybrid connectivity, then both the network on the Google side, on AWS side will be into the same local area network, and your connectivity and data transmission will happen on a private tunnels which is more secured. At a very first glance, this whole setup which you are seeing onto the screen might look complicated to you, but don't worry, we are just going to break everything onto this particular implementation. So we are going to start from the scratch on a Google Cloud as well as onto the AWS side. So first thing we are going to do, we are just going to set up the VPC subnet, and then we are just going to increase the complexity to enable this hybrid connectivity. So of course, this session is going to be a little longer session, and I will put all the timestamp into the description section so that you can just follow based on those timestamp as well. But yeah, just stay along with this particular session because there is a lot of networking concept which I'm just going to cover to enable this hybrid connectivity. I'll first start with the AWS. So this is my AWS account, and in the search box you can search for VPC and then click on VPC over here, and here just click on create VPC, and I'll just go with the VPC only option, although you can select this option also, but we are just gonna break everything simple and we are gonna proceed step by step. So that's why I'm just gonna put the VPC name. So here I'm just gonna put like AWS VPC site to I'll put hybrid VPC as the name. All right, after that I need to specify the CIDR range. So here I'm just gonna specify the CIDR range, let's say 10.0.0.0/16, and after that we just need to choose few more options like a tags and tenancy. If you have some specific things about your tags, then you can put it, otherwise you can keep it optional as well. After that I'm just gonna create this particular VPC over here, and here you can see our VPC is available onto the AWS side, and the IP range is 10.0.0.0/16. So this is the CIDR range on which our AWS resources will be created. Let's take a look onto the Google Cloud, and here onto the search box, just type VPC, click on the VPC network over here, and then click on create VPC network. And here you can enter the name. So I'm just going to enter the name GCP VPC hybrid VPC demo connectivity. And after that, I'm just going to keep everything default over here. The subnet, which you can create right now or you can create later also. So what I will do, I will just delete this thing and I will just gonna create those subnets later. So let's stick with the VPC first. And here are some of the default routes which will be created once you create your VPC on Google Cloud. So here you can take a look that what are the default routes you want to associate with your VPC. So generally what I do is I just go with the ICMP, which is a necessary one. Then I just go with the TCP, which is also a necessary one, because if you want to SSH or if you want to ping any resource, then these are the rules which you need to associate with your VPC. So I'm just going to keep these two, and if needed, we are just going to add more. After that, you just go, and here you can see the dynamic routing mode, keep it regional, and the based path selection mode, keep it legacy. That's just the default setting you need to worry about. And then click on create over here. And here you can see our VPC has been created, which will take a few minutes, and after that our VPC will be ready. Alright, so after a couple of minutes, my VPC has been created on a Google Cloud as well. So let's take a look onto the diagram once again. What are the next component which we need to create? So here you can see we need to create a subnet, and I have a limited space onto this particular slide. So that's why I cannot show you the private and public subnet, but I'm just creating a single component subnet, but in reality we will be creating one private subnet and one public subnet on both AWS as well as onto GCP. So let's start with the AWS. So here I'll just go to the AWS, and here this is the VPC which we have created. So again, go to the VPC dashboard, and here go to the subnets on the left hand side, which you can see. And here we are just going to create the subnet. So click on subnet, and here we need to select the same VPC, because here if you take a look, then we are working into this VPC which we have just created. So we want to work into the same VPC. So here from the drop down, select the VPC, which is this one which we have just created, and here we need to enter the name. So here I'm just going to enter the name AWS VPC hybrid subnet demo. And I'm just going to put a hybrid public subnet over here as well, because this is going to be a public subnet. And I'm just going to copy this name over here. And after that, availability zone. So here I'm just going to choose Mumbai Asia region, and here the CIDR range. This is the CIDR range of our VPC, which is ending with /16, and then we need to reduce the IP addresses for our subnet. So here I'm just gonna go with 10.0.1.0/24, and we will have a 256 IPs available within my public subnet of my AWS. Secondly, I'm just gonna add one more subnet, and here I'm just gonna put the name, and here I'm just gonna make it as a private, and here availability zone, I'm just gonna select, let's say, Asia Pacific South 1B, and here I'm just gonna assign the CIDR range for my subnet. So I'll just go with 10.0.2.0/24. Okay, so these are the CIDR ranges, and if you don't know about CIDR range and CIDR calculation, then I have uploaded a dedicated video on the CIDR range. Then please go and refer that particular video. I'll put into description section also, and probably you will see a link over here for that particular session as well. Okay, so now our subnets definitions has been put over to this particular form of AWS. Then I'm just going to click on create subnet. And here you can see both the subnets are ready, and those subnets are, one is public and one is private subnet. So if you take a look onto the diagram, so yeah, we have VPC and we have a subnet on AWS side. Now let's talk about the Google Cloud side. So here we need to create a subnet there as well. So let's go back to our Google Cloud, and here we need to go to our VPC first. So here you can see this is the VPC which we have created, which is GCP VPC hybrid VPC demo. Then click on this particular VPC name, and here you will find the options for subnet. And as you remember that we only created a VPC, we have not created the subnet. So let's go and create our subnets over here. And here again we are going to create one public and one private subnet. So click on add subnets over here, and here we need to enter the name. So I'm just gonna take the name GCP VPC hybrid public subnet. And here the region, so let's choose a Europe region over here. So I'm just gonna choose Europe North one, and the purpose, I'm just gonna go with the none option over here. I don't want any specific subnet for this one. And here we need to choose the IP range. So again, like in AWS side, we have chosen the CIDR range. So here I'm just gonna choose the CIDR range. So let's pick the CIDR range, for example 21.0.1.0/24. This is the CIDR range for my public subnet. I'm just going to copy this name because I just need to create one more with private so that I can keep the same naming convention. And here it is just telling me that these are the outside of the RFC 1980. So RFC has proposed some of the IP ranges which are reserved, which you cannot take it. So I just need to confirm that, yeah, these are out of those RFC reserved IP address range. All right. So after that, just click this one. And after that, you just need to click on add over here. And after that, here you will see on the top right corner, the progress of your subnet. And it should take a couple of minutes, and after that your one subnet will be ready, and then we are just going to create our private subnet. As you can see over here, our public subnet has been created. So click on add subnet over here once again, and then paste the name, and then change the name to private. And here the region, I'm just going to choose the same region, Europe North 1. And I'm just going to need to select the IP range. So here I'm just going to select 21.0.2.0/24. So here you can see that the public is ending with 1.0 and private is ending with 2.0. So that's a differentiation I have kept between the two subnet of my Google Cloud. I'll confirm these and then click on add over here. And again, it will take a couple of minutes, and then our subnets will be present or created into our Google Cloud as well as onto our AWS. Let's take a look onto the diagram once again. So now we have a VPC and subnets, both are ready on AWS and GCP. The next thing which we need to create is on the AWS side, we need to create an internet gateway. So now you will start noticing little differences between the Google Cloud and the AWS. It's just the way that how this cloud works. So in AWS, we need to create the internet gateway, but here in Google Cloud side, you need to create a route with the internet gateway, and then you will get the internet access. But let's focus on the AWS side and create an internet gateway, and then we need to associate that internet gateway with the route table, which I'm just going to show to you. But let's jump to AWS. So this is my AWS, and here on the left hand side, or if you go to the VPC dashboard, then you will find the internet gateway option. So what I'll do, I'll first copy the name. Let's say I'll just copy this name from here, and I'll go to internet gateway, click on create internet gateway. Here I need to put the internet gateway name. So here I will say hybrid, and then I will put internet gateway abbreviation IGW, and then I will just click on create internet gateway. Okay, and after you create an internet gateway, then you need to attach it to the VPC. Otherwise, that VPC will not know that internet gateway is there. So if you take a look onto this diagram, so here you can see this internet gateway is still within that VPC. But how will you make aware that VPC there is an internet gateway? So for that, you need to go to action, click on attach VPC, select the VPC, which is this one. This is the one which we have created in the first step. Select that one, click on attach internet gateway. And now your internet gateway is attached to this particular VPC. Moving further, the next thing which we need to create is our route table onto the AWS, because we need to create a route to this internet gateway through our route table. Otherwise, we will not be able to get an internet access to our resource present into this particular subnet. For that, let's go back to our AWS console, and here we need to create the route table. So here you can see this is the route table section, and here I'm just going to create the route table. So for that, I'm just going to copy this name so that I can keep the same naming convention. So click on this route table, create a route table, put the name over here, and here I'm just going to put hybrid public RT. RT is for route table. Then again, we need to select the VPC. So in which VPC we are working. So I'm working into this particular hybrid VPC, and then click on create route table. I'm just going to copy the name so that I can create one more private route table for private subnet as well. So click route table. Then after that, I just need to go back and then click on one more route table and put the name and name it as a private over here. And select the VPC, which is this one, and then click on create route table. And here you can see both the route tables has been created. I'll just refresh this one, and on the left hand side you can just filter the resource based on the VPC. So we are working on this particular VPC, so here I have just filtered out all the resources which are belonging to this particular VPC. Okay. Now the next thing is that once you create the public route table and private route table, then you need to associate the subnet so that this route table is responsible for public subnet and this private route table is responsible for private subnet. So let's open the public route table into the new tab. Here I can see this is my public route table, and here we are gonna attach or associate only the public subnet so that it is only responsible for public subnet. Click on subnet association, click on edit subnet, and here just select the public subnet only. All right, click on save association. That's done. And here you can see it is associated with our public subnet. Okay, that's fine. Go back and select the VPC where we are working. Then now select the private route table. Then click on subnet association, click on edit subnet, and here we are going to associate only the private route table. All right. Private subnet over here into this particular route table. So click on save association, and that's done. So now our public route table is responsible for public subnet and private route table is responsible for private subnet. Alright, so now we have associated this route table with the subnet, but we have not set up a route of our internet gateway through this route table. So the request cannot traverse through this particular route table and reach to the resource present into our public route table. So for that, we need to set up a route into our public route table and enable or attach or create a route for our internet gateway. So to do that, just go back to our VPC dashboard in AWS, go to the route tables, go to the public route table, and here click on edit routes, and here click on add routes, and the you need to mention the destination, which is your internet, and the destination of an internet is this one, 0.0.0.0.0, which means it is an internet. Okay, in the target here you need to choose the internet gateway which we have created, which is this one. So I'm just going to select this internet gateway and then click on save changes. And here you can see our internet gateway is associated with our route table, and now we are in a ready state from AWS side, from the VPC subnet, internet gateway and route table. And now we will start working on the actual hybrid connectivity setup. Our basic infra is ready from AWS side. Now you might be wondering that, hey Rahul, you have shown the AWS side of the things where you have set up the internet gateway, route table, and then you have associated with the subnet. What about this Google Cloud side? So I'll show you, like, Google Cloud side is a bit different from the AWS side, and the networking and the routing setup for the subnet is a bit different from the AWS side. So I'll show you the Google Cloud console, and I'll show you like how the internet gateway is available over there, how the routes are available over there, and if needed, how we can modify those routes to have those similar concept implemented on a Google Cloud side. So I'll just go back to my Google Cloud console, and here you can see these are the subnets which we have created. This is our VPC, and the thing is that we need to verify the internet gateway and the routes the way we have did it on a AWS in the previous step. So here click on the routes over here, and here you will see that all the routes are there. So here you can see this is the default internet gateway route with the 000, and this is the route ID which is available over here. And similarly, these are the default route only for our subnets, which is already there. So these things are already there, and both the clouds behaves in a different way in terms of how the GUI looks like, and how the subnet and VPC creation is a little bit different, but concepts are still the same. Okay. All right, so now we have achieved the subnet creation, VPC creation on both the side, and we know that internet gateway is there on both the side. The next thing is that we will spin up a virtual machine in Google Cloud as well as in AWS, so that we have instances running over there, so that once we enable the hybrid connectivity, then we will be able to test this connectivity between those instances. Let's start with our Google Cloud, and here in the search box you can type the VM, which is the VM instances. So click on this VM instances, and there is a one instance running. I'm just gonna stop that one, which is my I have been experimenting with the Google Cloud, so that's why I have been running that instance. Anyway, I'm just gonna create a fresh instance into our public subnet on a Google Cloud site. So for that, just click on create instance over here, and here I'm just gonna need to put the name. So I'm just gonna I'll just copy the name from my notepad so that I can go with the same naming convention. So here I'm just going to put GCP hybrid. Sorry, I just go on to the top once again, and I'll put public VM over here. The region, so this is the thing which is different from AWS. So here I need to choose the region. So here I will choose the same region where my VPC has been created or subnet has been created, so which is this one. I'm just going to keep zone any. After that, I need to select the machine, so that I should be able to spin it up that particular machine into the Google Cloud. So here I'll just close this one, that the previous message bar. So here I need to choose the machine, so I'll just go with the smallest one because this is the demo which I'm trying to do. And after that, I also need to choose the networking for this particular virtual machine. So if you go further down over here, so here we have pretty much assigned the name, region, we have choose the machine, and here we have assigned the machine type as well. And after that, if you go further down, then you will find the options for networking in the advanced options section. So click on that one, and here click on networking, select that one. And here you will find the option that here networking interface. So click on this drop down over here, and here you will find the option that is GCP hybrid VPC. So here this is the VPC where we need to work upon, and I need to create this particular instance into this particular VPC. So I'll just gonna select that one, and here we need to select the subnet again. So here I'm just gonna put it into my public subnet, which is this one. These are the IP ranges which I have created. Select that one. After that, you need to assign the internal IP address. So yes, ephemeral, and I also gonna assign the public IP address, because yeah, this is going to be into my public subnet. So it should have an external IP so that I can access this particular EC2 instance. Okay. After that, if you go further into the security, then here you will find the option, and in that option you need to click on manage access, and here you will find the option to select your SSH keys. So I will just add my SSH key over here. So I will just open my terminal, and here I have already created some keys and ls, and here. So how to generate the key? So key generation is pretty simple. You just need to type SSH key gen and then hit enter, and then you will be able to generate the public key and the private key, which is this one. So this is my private key and this is my public key. And if you are working on a Windows machine, then please install putty, and then you should be able to run these kind of a command to generate the keys onto your Windows machine. Or also, if you are using the Windows 10 and Windows 11, then we have a WSL system, which is a subsystem or Ubuntu like system which you can run within your Windows machine, and then you will have access to this terminal. So once you have the access to this terminal, then just run this command SSH keygen, and then it is, if you go hit enter, then here it is going to ask the name of that key. So here at this particular path, which might be different for you, it is going to generate the SSH key for you, and then you can put a name, and then you will get a 2 keys with this particular command. So that's a input for you to generate the key. But anyway, I need to attach the key. So here I'm just going to attach the public key, which is cat gcp.pub. So this is the key info which I need to associate with my instance which I'm provisioning. So here I'm just going to select these one. I'm just going to copy, and here I'm just going to paste it over here so that I can SSH from my local system. Okay. After that, I'm just ready with my virtual machine, and then I'm just going to click on create over here. And it will take a couple of minutes to spin up this virtual machine, and in the meantime we are gonna switch to AWS side, and then also we are gonna spin up some virtual machine as there. So let's take a look onto the diagram once again. So on the left hand side we have the virtual machine up and running. On the right hand side we need to create the virtual machine into AWS. So for that, let's jump to AWS console, and here type EC2, because EC2 is the name of the virtual machine type in AWS. So here I'm just going to click on launch instances, and here I'm just going to create 2 EC2 instances, one for public and one for private. On the Google side we only created for public subnet, and on AWS side we are going to create it for public as well as for private. So it's up to you how many you want to create, but I think these setup is sufficient so that we can set up and test the connectivity of our private instance also, so that from Google side we are just going to ping to the private instance on our AWS side, so that we can verify this connectivity is privately secured between AWS and GCP. So that's the reason I'm creating into the private subnet as well. So here let's copy the name from my notepad. So I will copy this from here, hybrid EC2. I'll just put it like a private EC2. All right, here I'm just going to choose the machine as Ubuntu, and the machine type I'm just going to select Ubuntu 24.04, and after that T2 micro. I just want to reduce the cost because this is the demo which I'm doing. Key pair, again the same concept applies which I just explained using the SSH keys, and so here you can also attach those keys as well. If you don't know like how to do the new import, so what you can do is that here in the security group, but here into the key pair, here once you generate the key onto your local system, then what you need to do, go to here import key pair, and here you can put the name of the key, and here you can put the public key content, and then you can import that particular key onto AWS. So the similar way, I have already imported that particular key, and which is this one for AWS. So I'm just selecting that key to associate with my instance. Okay. The crucial thing is networking. Click on edit and select the network. So here I'm just going to choose the VPC where I will be working. So this is the one. And after that, here I need to select the subnet. So here, what is the instance I'm creating? It is private. So here I'm just going to select the private subnet. Public IP, no, because it is in private subnet, so it should have a private IP. So I will not create a public IP to it. Okay. After that, the security group, I will be creating few more security groups. So here I will add one more, and here I will enable the ping so that I can verify and ping that particular EC2 instance. And here I will just put anywhere. And after that, yeah, we are pretty much ready with it. So I will just click on launch instances. And here you can see our private instance is getting launched, and I'll just go there, and I just need to create a one more instance here as well. So this is my private instance. I'm just going to copy this one, click on launch instances here, put a one more, and here put it public. And here I'm just gonna use Ubuntu, and here I'm just gonna choose t2.micro key pair. I'm just gonna select the same key which I have been using in the previous instance. Select the networking. Here I'm just going to go with the VPC, which is this one. Here I'm just going to select the public subnet. Here I'm just going to enable the public IP because I need the public IP. Security group SSH is enabled, and after that add one more security group, and here I will put ICMP-v4. Click from anywhere. And yeah, I think we are good. I just need to verify public VPC and the public IP. Let me check that one also. Yeah, it is enabled. All right, so everything is good. And here I'm just going to click on launch instances. There seems to be creating security group. So edit instance config. So let's check the security group rule. Create security group. I will put, I think I had clicked on select existing security group. That's why it created a problem. So I will just go back, and everything looks correct to me over here, and then click on launch instances over here. I think I'll cancel this one and I'll recreate that particular instance. Yeah, so private instance is up and running. So I'm just going to copy this one and click on launch instances. I'll just refresh the page over here. Paste the name, change the name to public. Select the instance as Ubuntu. And here instance type is t2.micro key pair. I'm just going to select the same key. In the networking, I'm just going to select the VPC where I want to work. Here I'm just selecting the public subnet. Create security group, yes. And after that, I'm just going to add one more security group rule, which is for ICMP. Which is this one, and I'll select it from anywhere. And yeah, I think it looks good. I need to check one more thing, enable public IP, enable that one also, and yeah, we are good. Then click on launch instances over here. Yeah, and now you can see our instances has been launched. So click on this instance ID. I think I did something wrong while creating that one. That's why it is creating problem. But now if you filter that AWS VPC hybrid, so here you can see we have a public instance in public subnet and private instance running into our private subnet. And here if you go further, then here you can see in the public instance we also got the public IP available for us. Let's move further, and now our basic infra is ready for Google Cloud as well as for our AWS, and now we have a virtual machine running in both our Google Cloud as well as onto AWS. The next thing is now the interesting part. So now we will start setting up our hybrid connectivity, and the first thing which we will do is to set up a cloud router onto our Google Cloud side, so that this cloud router will be responsible for any connectivity or communication happening between this particular VPC subnet resources with our Google Cloud provider. So let's go back to our Google Cloud and start setting up this Google Cloud router. I would like to take a pause over here, and if you're really liking these kind of a content onto the channel, then I have a membership program onto my YouTube, and there I upload a more premium content which is close to the industry standard. So there are lots of sessions which are not available to the public, and here you can see these are the sessions which I am keeping only for my YouTube member. So just try considering if you really think this content is useful to be a member of that particular program, and where you will get access to this premium content as well as to my Discord group where you can access me individually. So have a thought on it, and if you like it, then please consider being a member of that particular group. So let's get back to our session now. Here is my Google Cloud console, and here in the search box, if you'll type router, then here is the Google Cloud routers, and here click on create router, and here we need to enter the name. So I'm just gonna put GCP AWS router, and here the network. So again, we are creating any router into the same VPC where we are trying to work upon, or which VPC which we have set up for this particular demo. So in the drop down you will find that VPC, which is GCP VPC hybrid VPC demo. Select that one. And the region, so again we are working into Europe North region into the Google Cloud side. So I'm just gonna select the same region over here as well. Second, here we need to enter the ASN. So ASN is the unique number which is assigned to this particular device. So you can put any unique number, and that unique number has to be in a certain range. So for example, I'm just going to put this particular range, and you can Google on this ASN number in the networking, and you will find a many example. But just for this demo, I'm just going to use this particular ASN for this particular router. And after that, advertise all subnet visible into the cloud router. So select this option and then click on create this particular router. And this router will be ready within a couple of minutes. So I'll be back once this router is up and ready. Alright, so now after setting the cloud router, the next thing which we need to set up the VPN gateway, as well as after that we also need to select the VPN high availability onto the Google Cloud. So VPN gateway we are going to set up a little later because that will be an intermediate step when we are setting up this VPN high availability VPN onto the Google Cloud. So let's first try to set up the VPN high availability VPN on a Google Cloud, and then we will set up the VPN gateway, which will be a next step. So let's get back to our Google Cloud console, and yeah, this is the router which we have created previously, and this router is ready right now. So let's get back to our VPN. So just type VPN over here, click on the VPNs. And here, this is the section where we need to set up our high availability VPN. So click on create VPN over here, and there are a couple of options. So here is a high availability, and here is the classical VPN. And why it is high availability? Because it will give you 99.99 SLA, which means it will be available all the time for you, which supports quite a high bandwidth of connectivity between the Google Cloud and AWS, so that you don't get any downtime or intermediate issues between these two cloud connectivity. So I'm just going to go with the high availability VPN, and then click on continue over here. And here we need to enter the VPN gateway name. So here, if you take a look onto the diagram, then here into the VPN setup, we need to enter the VPN gateway name. So here I will just put a name over here. So let's put the name like GCP AWS VPN gateway. So this is the name I'm just going to put over here. Here we need to select the network. So here we will be working into the GCP VPC hybrid connectivity VPC, which we have created. So select that one. Region, we need to select Europe North 1 region, because that's the region where we are working. And VPN gateway IP version, we are going to stick with IPv4, and here we are going to select the IPv4 single stack. All right. Then click on create and continue. And now we will be jumping between the Google Cloud and AWS to complete these steps between the Google Cloud and AWS, because there are certain things which needs to be accomplished on a Google Cloud side first, and then we need to jump on AWS side. All right. So now we got the VPN configuration created onto our Google Cloud side, and these are the interface or the public IPs which are available for us. So I'm just gonna make a copy of these IP addresses onto my notepad, because we will be needing it to create some gateways, customer gateways onto our AWS side later. So let me copy and paste it onto my notepad. So here, this is the first one and this is the second one. Please make a copy of these IP address because this will be needed later. Okay. So after that, we just need to take a pause onto the Google Cloud side. We just needed these interface public IP addresses. And now we will jump to AWS side and we will set up the connectivity on the AWS side as well. And before we jump to the AWS side, so let's take a look onto the diagram once again. And now we have accomplished this much of setup. The next thing which we are going to do is we are going to create a customer gateway based on the IPs, the interface IPs which we got from the GCP side. And these IPs we are going to use to create our customer gateways. So let's jump to the AWS console and let me give a minute. And here. So here in the search box, type VPC. Click on the VPC over here, and on the left hand side you will find an option for a customer gateways. Click on customer gateways, and I will open my notepad also on the right hand side, and here click on the customer gateways over here, and here you need to enter the customer gateways names. So I'm just going to enter the first customer gateway, which is this one. Then here we need to enter the ASN. So if you remember, the ASN which we have kept on the GCP side is 64512. So that's the same ASN which I need to keep it over here as well. Otherwise it will not be able to connect. So here I'm just keeping the same 64512 ASN over here. Okay. And here we need to enter the IP address, and this IP address is going to be the interface IP address which we have just copied from AWS and saved it onto my notepad. So I'm just going to copy that particular IP address over here, and I'm just going to paste it over here. And the certificate ARN and the device, these are optional thing which you can skip, so you don't need to worry about it. So this is our first customer gateway. Then click on create customer gateway over here. All right, the next thing which we need to do is to create a second customer gateway on AWS side based on the second interface ID which we got from Google Cloud. So I'm just going to copy that IP address from here, as well as go to create customer, and here I'm just going to enter the name. So I'm copying the name, and this is my second customer gateway, and here I need to enter the ASN. So I'm just going to copy and paste it over here. And here I need to enter the second IP address of that interface ID. So here I'm just going to enter the second IP address also. And after that, click on create customer gateway. And here you can see both the customer gateways has been created. So let's take a look onto the diagram once again. So this is the setup which we have achieved so far. The next thing is we need to create a virtual private gateway on AWS so that this customer gateway can connect to that virtual private gateway. And this virtual private gateway will eventually connect to our subnet. All right, so in the VPC dashboard on the left hand side, you will find an option for a virtual private gateway. So click on this virtual private gateway, click on create virtual private gateway, and here enter the name. So this is the name of my virtual private gateway which I'm just gonna put, and here we need to enter the ASN. So as you remember, in the Google side we have created one ASN. So here I'm just gonna enter one more ASN which is a different for AWS side, which is 64513. All right, and after that I'm just gonna create a virtual private gateway. And remember, this virtual private gateway is going to be communicating with our VPC. So here, once we create this particular virtual private gateway, right now it is in a pending state, then we need to attach it to our VPC. So if you take a look onto this diagram over here, so this connectivity, if I draw over here, so this connectivity needs to be established, and for that we need to attach it to this particular VPC over here. Okay, so this virtual private gateway needs to be connected to this particular VPC, and this customer gateway is already attached to this particular interface ID over here, which we got it. So this is how we are just trying to connect everything between the Google Cloud and the AWS side. All right, so now my VPN gateway has been created on AWS side. So select this one, and here you can see the status is detached. So click on action, click on attach VPC. From the drop down, select the VPC, and this is the VPC where we are working. So select that particular VPC and click on attach VPC. And now our virtual private gateway is getting attached to our VPC. So refresh a bit over here. It will take a couple of minutes and I'll be back once this is ready. And then we are gonna move to the next step. Alright, so here you can see it has been attached to my VPC. So let's take a look onto the diagram once again. So now we have created a customer gateway and virtual gateway which is attached to our VPC inside our AWS. The next thing is we need to create a site-to-site connection. So if you take a look onto the AWS console over here, go to the VPC section, and here you will find a site-to-site connection. And here we will be creating a two connection, and these two connection will be using our because we will be using a first and second customer gateway, which will be connected to virtual private gateway. So we need two connection because we have a two customer gateways, and then in both the connection we will have a same virtual private gateway in our site-to-site connection in AWS. So here let's get back to our console, and I'm just going to open my notepad also in the parallel. And here on the create VPN connection, click on create VPN connection. Here we need to enter the name. So here I'm just going to put the first name of my VPN connection, which is 01. And here we are going to choose the type as a virtual private gateway. And from the diagram, if you'll see, there is only one virtual private gateway which is available, which we have created. So select that one, which is this one, and then we need to select the customer gateway. Since we are working with the first VPN connection, so I'll go with the first customer gateway. And if you see into the diagram, so here you can see this is our customer gateway CGW, which stands for customer gateway and 1. So select that one. And here I'm just gonna stick with the dynamic routing. I'm just gonna check, and here we need to select the dynamic routing as is. We don't need to change anything. After that, these are the optional thing. We are just going to keep it optional. And after that, just click on create a VPN connection over here. Okay, so this first VPN connection is getting created. So if you take a look onto the diagram over here, then we have created a one VPN connection for this customer gateway, which is using this one. Okay, now we need to create a one more VPN connection with this customer gateway, which will use again the same virtual private gateway. Okay. So let's get back to our AWS console, click on create VPN connection, paste the VPN connection name, select the same virtual private gateway, select the virtual private gateway from here. The customer gateway, I'm just going to select the second one, and after that select the dynamic, and here you can see I'm just enabling the option of a dynamic routing over here. So this is the dynamic routing which we are also trying to address into this particular demo. All right, so after that, then click on create a VPN connection. And once you click on create VPN connection, then it will take around a couple of minutes. So both the VPN connection to get ready, and then we are gonna further move with our next steps. Alright, so after waiting a couple of minutes, so both the VPN connections are ready, and there are a couple of more details which we need to verify. So if you click on the first VPN connection over here, and if you go to the tunnel details, then you will find the two tunnels which are ready, but these are down at this point of time because it is not connected to Google Cloud. I'll just put it over here. And similarly onto the VPN connection 2, also there are two more tunnels and both are down and which are not in a ready state. So now we need to download some configuration from these two VPN connection, and these downloaded configuration we are going to use to set up our Google connectivity. So if you take a look onto the diagram over here, so for this particular whole hybrid connectivity, this much we have achieved, and now we are going to set up this tunnel connectivity. So this is going to be first, second, third and fourth. So here you can see this is our VPN connection 1. If I try to show it, so this is going to be our VPN connection 1 with our customer gateway, and this is going to be a VPN connection 2 with our second customer gateway. And these are the tunnel which is first and second, and this is our third and fourth, and which you can see over here. So here you can see this is my first second tunnel. Here you can see first and second tunnel of our VPN2. And if I show you this one, the VPN connection 1, so here you can see this is the one and second. So there are 4 tunnels which are ready with us, which we need to connect to our Google Cloud. So for that, I'm just gonna close this pencil, and first of all, just select this VPN connection 1, click on download configuration over here, and here click on generic, because this is going to be a little bit more tunnel configuration which you need to set up, and that depends upon the router which you have on other side. Since we are using Google Cloud, so I'm just going to go with generic, but in case if you have some specific routers on-premise, then you need to choose those specific router configuration. So let's stick with generic, vendor agnostic, and then I'm just going to choose IKE v2 version. Click on download. So here I'm just downloading it for my first VPN connection. So I'm just gonna drag it over here, probably if you can see. So I'm just gonna rename it and put VPN 1 txt, and here I'm just gonna put it onto my notepad also. So just give me a minute, and I'm just going to show my notepad to you also over here. So this is my notepad, and here I'm just going to open that VPN connection 1 txt. So here you can see this is the VPN connection 1.txt. Let's get back and cancel this one. Select the second one, click on download configuration, select generic over here, and select the 2, click on download, show in a finder. So I'm just going to rename it, put it a vpn2.txt. I'm just going to put it into my folder, then go to notepad, and then I'm just gonna open it into my notepad. So here you can see VPN1 and VPN2, both the downloaded configuration are ready with me. And now we will jump onto the Google side, and where we have left our VPN configuration. So let's get back to on the Google side, which is this one, and now we need to start setting up the tunnel configurations over here. All right, so this is my Google Cloud side, and here we have left off and we started setting up the AWS side. So now that has been set up, let's get back and continue our Google Cloud side. So here we need to set up the VPN gateway. So if you click on drop down, then there is no gateway. So we need to create a new VPN gateway. So here we need to enter the name. So here I'm just going to copy the name from my VPN gateway, which is this one. And here we need to select the interfaces. So I'm just going to go with the 4 interfaces over here. And here these are the IP addresses which we need to copy from our downloaded configuration txt file, which we have just downloaded it for VPN1 and VPN2. And the key thing is we need to keep in mind that we need to only put the virtual private gateway IP address over here, the outside virtual private gateway IP address. So I'm just going to show to you as well. So let me show my notepad to you. And here, if you see, this is the downloaded configuration for VPN1. And if you scroll it down, then here you will find the IP address. So here is the outside IP address, and you only need to copy the virtual private gateway IP address. So this is the VPN1. So I'm just going to copy this IP address and paste it over here. And then again, go down. Then this is the tunnel 2. And here you will find the second virtual private gateway IP address, which is this one. Paste it over here. And then again, go to the VPN2. Go to the top and then scroll it down, and here this is the IP address of virtual private gateway of tunnel 2. Paste it over here, and then if you go down further, then here you will find the virtual private gateway, which is this one. Copy this one, put it over here, then click on create over here. And here you can see our virtual private gateway has been created, but still we need to set up the tunnels on the Google Cloud side as well. And for that we need to choose the routing option, which is dynamic, and this is the dynamic routing which we are also trying to set it up. So here select the cloud router, which is our GCP AWS cloud router, which is the one which we have created, and here these are the tunnels. And here into the tunnels we need to enter the details of our downloaded configuration also. So there are key things which we need to put is the pre-shared key. So if I show you, so just go to the VPN text one, go to the top, and here you will find a pre-shared key. So this is the security pre-shared key which we also need to set up inside our tunnel. So here just copy this particular key, copy this one, and just make a note of IP address here as well, which is these are the one. So just verify, and here you can see it is 108 ending with, so it is this one. So we are just make sure that you are copying the same pre-shared key for the virtual private gateway outside IP address. All right, so I have copied here, just need to put the name, which is tunnel 1, and here I'm just going to paste the key, which is this one. Click on done. Open second tunnel, again scroll down, copy the key from here, just make sure you copy the exact value, then check the IP address ending with 137, and here it is tunnel, I'll just put it tunnel 2, and here the value, which is this one. Click on done. Tunnel 3, and which is ending with 18, and so what I'll do, I'll just go to the VPN 2, and here just copy the key first of all from here, go to the IP address, and here you can see it is ending with 18, and here I'm just gonna put the tunnel name as 3 over here, enter the pre-shared key, and then click on done over here. And then the last one, which is the fourth tunnel, scroll down, and here this is the key, copy this one, and make sure the IP address ending with 149, it is ending with 149. Here enter the name, that is tunnel 4, and then pre-shared key, paste the value over here, and then click on done over here. Okay, so now our VPN gateway is there. We have created our tunnel setup also. Then click on create and continue. In the meantime, when our tunnels are getting ready, so let's verify the diagram once again. So again, we are setting up the same tunnel on the Google Cloud side. If I show you, so these are the 4 tunnels which we are trying to set up on a Google Cloud side as well. And we have already downloaded this configuration and putting all those details over here from the AWS side. And now we need to set up our BGP connection settings also. So if you take a look over here, if I close this down, then we need to set up our BGP session for tunnel 1, tunnel 2, and tunnel 3 and 4 as well. Let's start by setting the BGP 1 configuration for our tunnel 1. So here you can see this is our tunnel 1, and now we need to click on configure BGP session. And here we need to enter the name, so I'm just going to put BGP1 for tunnel 1, and here the peer ASN. So let me check what peer ASN we need to keep. So here we need to keep the peer ASN as 64513, which is from our AWS side, because now we are setting up the configuration on Google Cloud side based on the AWS tunnel setup. So this is the peer ASN which is gonna keep for all the BGP session. And after that, if you go over here, then the allocate BGP IPv4 address. So here I'm just gonna keep it manual, and here we need to enter the IPv4 address from our downloaded configuration. So if you open our downloaded configuration, go to the VPN1 text, and here we need to enter. Let's start with our first tunnel, which is this one. And here we need to go further over here, so we need to enter these inside IP addresses. So just copy this one first, put it over here, and again copy this one and put it over here. Okay, and after that we are just gonna click on save and continue. So this is our BGP session 1. For tunnel 1, then click on 2, put the name, that is BGP2, that is going to be 64513. And here again go to manual, and then here we need to enter the IP address. So go back to your notepad, and here we need to enter the inside IP address, which is this one, 78 and 77. 78, and here I'm just gonna enter the 77. Okay, then click on save and continue. Click on tunnel 3, click on configure session, and here we need to enter BGP3 64513 manually, and then enter the VPN2. Go to the VPN2 because now we are setting up into VPN2. Then go to the tunnel 1, which is this one over here, and here all the way to the bottom. Just copy the inside address, which is this one. Paste it over here, and then again here, which is this 197. You just need to be very careful when entering these IP addresses, otherwise you might screw up your whole high availability VPN connectivity. Click on save and continue. Then click on configure BGP session, and here the fourth one, and here it is going to be 64513. And after that, if you go to manual, and then here we need to enter the last one, which is this one, 202 and 201, and which is this one. Just enter that one. Click on save and continue. And now BGP sessions are ready, and then click on save BGP sessions. And it will take a couple of minutes to save this configuration. And here you can see the tunnel 2 is established, which means tunnel 2 is green from both the side, from AWS and GCP side, and rest of the tunnels will also go green pretty soon. And it will take a couple of minutes or maybe more to make all these tunnels available and connectivity set up between the AWS and GCP. Alright, so after a couple of minutes, all of my 4 tunnels are green. Here you can see the VPN status has been established. BGP session status is also green. So the connectivity from Google Cloud is up and running, and everything is connected to AWS. So let's get back to our AWS side as well. So here, if you take a look, I'll just close this one. So here you can see this was previously down, and I have not refreshed it, and it got refreshed automatically. So if I refresh it once again, then you will notice that all the connectivity is green now. So here you can see tunnel details, both the greens, and tunnel 2, and this is also green, which is up and running. So which means our connectivity, if I show the diagram, and so here you can see our connectivity from our GCP to the AWS is fully established using these 4 tunnels. These are 2 and these are remaining 2, and which you can verify from here also if I close this one. So these are the 2 tunnels. So let me draw something over here. So this is the VPN 1 with the 2 tunnels, and this is the VPN 2 with the 2 tunnels. And now we have established the connectivity between the Google Cloud and AWS, and this connectivity is private connectivity using the dynamic routing between the GCP and AWS, and this network traffic is not exposed through internet. It is a private connectivity, and both the Google Cloud and your AWS is privately connected, and that will behave like a local area network, which I'm just going to show to you pretty soon. Now, how to test this connectivity? So as you remember, this is our virtual machine into our public subnet with the public IP. So I will be able to SSH into this machine, and after SSH into this machine, I'm just gonna ping to this particular EC2 instance, which is into our private subnet. And if it is into private subnet, then it doesn't have a public IP, and this instance will not be accessible unless and until I go into that particular network. And this virtual machine, since both Google Cloud and AWS are connected into the same network through hybrid connectivity and high availability VPN, so this virtual machine should be able to ping this particular EC2 instance. So that's what we are going to do. But also there is one more thing which we need to keep in mind, that we need to enable the route propagation on AWS, because without route propagation enabled, we will not be able to ping this particular EC2 instance. And how to do that, and that's what we called it as a dynamic routing. And through dynamic routing and route propagation, we enable the new routes after connectivity which has been established. So go back to our AWS console and go to your VPC over here, go to the route tables, and here select the VPC, which is this one, and then click on the route table. So I'll just go with the public route table, and here click on to the route propagation, click on edit route propagation, click on enable, click on, I will show you first of all without enabling it. So here you can see there are only 2 routes over here. Click on route propagation, click on edit route, enable, and click on save over here. And here you can see the routes has been propagated, and now we are able to connect to our other VPC, which is our Google Cloud VPC, which we can see from here. And if I go over here, then click on VPC, click on VPC network, and this is our VPC of our Google Cloud with the subnet. And here you can see the IP address 21.10 and 20.0.2.0, and both the routes are propagated over here. So this is the dynamic routing, and this is how the routes are getting propagated from our Google Cloud side to AWS side. And now our request will go through, but we have enabled it for our public route table. So let's go and take a look onto the private route table as well. Click on route propagation, and here you can see only one route is there. Now click on enable route propagation, edit route, select the enable route, click on save over here. And here you can see both the routes has been enabled and available over here. Okay. All right. So let's get back to our AWS console. Click on virtual machine, because we need to go to our virtual machine, and from there we are just gonna test and ping to our private EC2 instance. So this is my virtual machine, and here click on SSH. Click on authorize. And now I am into my virtual machine of my Google Cloud. So here it is. And then I'm just gonna copy my private IP of my EC2 instance. So click on this instances and go with the private IP. Click on this IP, and this is my private IP of my EC2 instance, and it doesn't have a public IP, so it is not accessible from anywhere unless and until you are in the network, which we are gonna test it. So here click on ping over here, paste it over here, and here you can see we are able to ping our EC2 instance from AWS, and this is the IP which you can see over here. Okay, and that's how we establish the connectivity through site-to-site VPN and high availability VPN in our Google Cloud, between the Google Cloud and AWS. And yeah, this is the minimum setup you need to do to connect your VPCs between AWS and GCP. And if you have more than one VPC, then you need to perform the similar steps to connect those VPC through this particular setup. I hope this tutorial on the dynamic route propagation, dynamic routing, site-to-site VPN, setting up a Google Cloud high availability VPN will help you to clear out your questions regarding to hybrid connectivity between the different cloud provider. So this is the minimal setup which you need to do to provide the hybrid connectivity, and this is a highly available VPN which will have a 99.99% availability, because we are having 4 VPN tunnels running between your AWS and GCP. So if one tunnel is down, then still you have other tunnels to serve your traffic. So if you have any question related to this particular session, please put down into the comment section. And if you are really liking these kind of a content, then please considering subscribing and becoming a member of this particular channel, where we have lots of this similar in-depth session for DevOps and various Google Cloud.